Good morning, everybody, and happy World Ocean Week from California State Parks. Welcome to this California State Parks Ports Cast, and I'd like to welcome you to beautiful Crystal Cove State Park to kick off World Ocean Week. We're starting at beautiful Crystal Cove State Park down here in Southern California in Orange County. My name is Miss Alex, and this is a California State Park. So we are a protected wilderness park, and my name is Miss Alex, and I'm an interpreter. And as an interpreter, it's my job to share fun, interesting, meaningful information about the plants, the animals, the natural resources, and the cultural history that make this California State Park such a wonderful place to explore. And today, for this Ports Cast, I'm really excited to invite you down to the rocky shoreline so we can learn about an exciting animal that lives in this ocean home called the tide pools. Do you guys know which animal we're learning about today? So exciting. It's the octopus. So today we're going to learn everything octopus, octopus adaptations, the octopus life cycle, and the ways that you can help protect octopuses if you ever visit a marine protected area like this one. The nearshore waters of Crystal Cove State Park are a marine protected area, or MPA. MPAs are like a protected wilderness park on land, just under the water. So we have special rules we follow to help protect all the wildlife and habitat. While I'm talking, you might want to grab some crayons or something to write with if you feel inspired to color and draw one of these octopuses today, or maybe write down the name of an octopus you'd like to learn more about later. That would be your chance. So grab some pencils, crayons, paper, and we'll do some pair and share if you're with a group today. All right. So first of all, where are we? Where is Crystal Cove State Park? I'm going to show you on a map just where we are. All right, so here is the state of California. If you see that pink star down at the bottom of the screen, Crystal Cove State Park is located in between LA and San Diego on the coastline down here in Orange County. More specifically, if you know Orange County, the OC, that's where Disneyland is. Many students know where Disneyland is in Orange County. We're in between Laguna Beach and Newport Beach here on the coastline. And what I'd like to do now is I'm just going to give you guys a live feed of the ocean because we are live with the Pacific Ocean today for World Ocean Week. And I just want you to make some quiet observations to yourself about this natural habitat. What do you notice about Crystal Cove State Park? Okay, here we are at Crystal Cove Beach. Let's open up our senses this morning. Think about what it would feel like to be with me here at the beach. We're live watching these waves crash. What kind of sky do we have today? What colors do you notice? We have some gray today. We call it May grays, turning into June gloom. Sometimes in Southern California on the coast, in May and June, we get these gray skies, but it makes for a beautiful, beautiful view of this ocean. Imagine what it would smell like in the air. It smells a little salty. It's cool. Keep your eyes peeled for dolphins. We see dolphins almost every day here. Maybe this reminds you of a memory. All right. So what do you guys notice at the southern end of the beach that's poking out of the water that we don't see at the northern end of this beach? Something poking out of the water and the sand. You look over here, you might notice that we have rocks. So because we have a rocky shoreline, we're able to have a tide pool habitat. That's where the octopus lives. Now, what is a habitat? If you're in a classroom, you can pair and share, maybe take a moment, think about what is a habitat. So a habitat is a natural home for plants and animals. All right, we can't forget about our plants because we wouldn't have animals without plants. And in order to build a tide pool habitat, anywhere on planet Earth, you just need three things, okay? Three main components to build our tide pool habitat. First, we need a rocky shoreline. You can't find tide pools on a sandy shoreline, only a rocky shoreline. Then what do you hear at the beach? What's crashing on those rocks? The water, ocean water at low tide. So we have rocks, we have ocean water at low tide. What's the last piece of the puzzle to build that tide pool habitat? What do you want to see if you go exploring in this marine protected area? Maybe some life, right? Like a lobster, California spiny lobster, or maybe some seaweed. Here's a blade of kelp. from our giant kelp forest. So life, anywhere on planet Earth, if you have a rocky shoreline, ocean water, and living organisms, then you have a tide pool habitat. And every day the tide is changing from a high tide to a low tide. So in 6 hours, this coastline will look completely different. So we took 2 pictures here at the beach at the same day. 2 pictures on the same day, just different times of the day, to show you the difference between a high tide and a low tide. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, we have a high tide. The water has come all the way up here. And then at the top of your screen, we have a low tide. And you see that the water's pulled back, revealing those rocks. There are 2 high tides and 2 low tides every day in Southern California. And at low tide, when the water pulls back, there are pools of ocean water resting in the rocks. And what do you think you can see and discover if you go walking on the rocks? A community of organisms thriving in these little pools, bursting with biodiversity. Diversity means variation, variety of species, and bio means life. So it's really important in habitat to have biodiversity. Lots of different kinds of animals create more opportunity for all the species. Just love this pool. One of our volunteers took this photograph, and it just shows how much life is happening in the tide pools. All right, so this is where our octopus lives. Now, if you were to see a group of this animal together, a group of the octopus, how would you refer to them? What is the plural for octopus? How do you refer to a number of them? Think about that. So many of you might say octopi, right? Most people want to say octopi, but that's actually incorrect. There are 2 correct ways to say the plural of octopus. You can say octopuses or octopods. And today I'll be saying octopuses. So squids, octopuses, and cuttlefish all live in a group of animals together called cephalopods. So squids, octopus, and cuttlefish. Ceph means head and pod means foot, because most of these animals have a big head or mantle. This is their big head with lots of these appendages coming off. Now here's a trick question. How many tentacles does an octopus have? How many tentacles does an octopus have? So I bet a lot of you are saying 8, right? Well, actually, that's incorrect too. Octopuses have 0 tentacles, no tentacles, they just have arms. So octopuses have 8 long arms. So then what are tentacles? Then we have to look to the cousin of our octopus, the squid, still a cephalopod. Dun, 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 dun. But notice how this squid, so it has a big head, lots of little appendages coming off, but it looks a little different. So squids have 8 arms, and what are these? Those are tentacles. So squids have 8 arms and 2 tentacles. Tentacles are a little bit different. They have sticky stuff at the tips. They shoot out, grab food, and bring it back to the squid. All right. And there are around 300 species of octopuses living in all of the world's oceans, even the Antarctic. They're big, they're small, they eat different kinds of food. Let's think about the smallest octopus on Earth. Everybody put out your hand. Imagine you have a penny in your hand. They weigh less than a penny and they're about 1 inch long. This is the starsucker pygmy octopus. The starsucker pygmy octopus, about this big, about the size of the fingernail on your thumb. And then what about the largest octopus on Earth? So the largest octopus is going to be the giant Pacific octopus. The giant Pacific octopus can be over 100 pounds and grow to 16 feet long. 16 feet, how big is that? Well, that's about the length of an SUV or a large car, but I have this fun rainbow rope with me here today, and it's exactly 16 feet long. So I can show you just how big a giant Pacific octopus would be if it were here with us today on the patio. Okay, I'm still going, still going, still going, you guys. Oh my gosh, 16 feet. Can you still hear me? Imagine a slippery cephalopod up here on the patio with us, that large. So now I'm going to introduce you to a number of unusual octopus species. You might want to get a pen to write down some of the names if you want to learn more about them later. And we're going to be seeing how these octopuses are very different from one another, but let's think about how they share the same traits. They share some of the same traits, all right? And think about how they might use their body parts to survive. Okay, I'm so excited to show you guys these octopuses. All right, so here we have the mimic octopus. It was recently discovered in 1998. So if you want to become a scientist, there are plenty of octopus species that need to be discovered, also other ocean animals. And they're called the mimic octopus because mimic means to pretend to look like other animals. So the mimic octopus will shapeshift. It changes its body form, throws its arms back to cruise on the seafloor and mimic another animal. So now it kind of looks like a stingray or a flatfish, not an octopus. So it's a way to confuse its predator. And then the mimic octopus can throw its arms out into the water to mimic a different dangerous fish in its habitat, the lionfish. So here on the screen, you'll see on one side of the screen, we have the lionfish with venomous spines coming off its body. And then you see the mimic octopus is trying to look like that dangerous lionfish so that it doesn't get eaten. Now, you might have heard of the most venomous octopus on Earth. This is the blue-ringed octopus. All octopuses have a little venom to break down their food in their beak. And even though they're so venomous, they never really harm humans. The only way you'll be bitten by an octopus is if you're holding one or mishandling it. And we're going to learn that we never pick up octopuses in the tide pools. These guys are kind of small. They grow to be 4 inches long and they live in the tropical waters off Australia. And ooh, this is a really cool octopus. Have you guys seen the new Little Mermaid movie? I noticed they had a blanket octopus in the background. This is called a blanket octopus. They have webbing in between their arms, so their arms look like blankets. And if they have a predator chasing them, they can drop their arm and their arm will wrap around the face of the predator like a blanket. So cool. This is the female. In this species, the girls are big and beautiful and bold, and the boys are kind of small and just blend in. So in some octopus species, the boys and girls look the same, and in some, they look different. All right, are you guys ready to go deep sea? Let's go 13,000 feet down. This is the Dumbo octopus. 13,000 feet, it's pitch black down here. We can all give a collective, oh, so cute. One of these Dumbo octopuses was named Adorabilis because they are just so adorable. And they're named after Disney's Dumbo elephant because it looks like they have those big ears on their head. But those are not ears, actually. Those are fins. So the Dumbo octopus uses its fins to paddle and its arms to steer in the darkness. And deep sea octopuses don't have an ink sac because it's so dark down there, they wouldn't need it. It wouldn't work for them. All right, and also deep sea, did you know we have a completely see-through octopus called the glass octopus? Completely see-through except for its eyes and digestive tract. And it's really hard to get images of these deep sea creatures. There's a good YouTube video of this one drifting around in the darkness. All right, so you notice that all of these octopuses look very different from each other, but they did share some of the same traits. What did all of these octopuses have in common? And how might they use their body parts to survive? So think about, what did all these octopuses have in common? Okay, so you might have noticed that the octopuses, all of them have a big head with lots of appendages. They're all cephalopods. Remember, big head, lots of arms coming off. Also, you might have noticed they all had arms, right? So do you think they use their arms to survive? How do you think an octopus uses its arms to survive? So octopuses use their arms to swim, for locomotion, to move around. They also have their arms to find their food. They like to eat crabs. I'm going to turn all of you guys into an octopus right now, okay? Wave my magic wand. I want you to put out your arms. Imagine you have 4 arms and 4 legs with suckers all on them, and you're really hungry, and there's a crab in front of you, and your mouth is your belly button. How are you going to get that crab to your belly button? We're going to use all of our arms, our suckers, to grab that crab, bring it straight to your beak, and then munch, 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 right where your belly button is. I used to work at a science center, and we used to watch the octopuses eat the crabs. So all of these animals use their body parts to survive. Do you guys use your arms to survive? Yeah. So what do we call that word for the traits that plants and animals use to survive? Do you guys know that word? They're like animal superpowers. Adaptation. So adaptations are inherited traits that plants and animals use to survive. And as humans, we have adaptations. Let's see our arms. We have our arms for doing things. Let's see our fingers. Humans have fingers for grasping. Feel your hair. Most of us have hair to keep our head warm, to keep us from getting sunburned. So we're going to take a look at some of the cool adaptations of our local octopus species, the two-spot octopus. So octopuses are highly intelligent animals. They're known for playing games and problem solving. They're also known for their defense mechanisms, the ways they protect themselves. So what can they squirt in the water? Ink, and then they can jet propel backwards into the darkness away from a predator like a seal or a shark. And this is important. They don't have a backbone, no bones. Their body's like jelly. Everybody feel your spine that holds us up. We have a backbone. So as humans, we are called vertebrates. What do we call animals that don't have a backbone? If humans are vertebrates, what do we call animals that do not have a backbone? Invertebrates. So invertebrates don't have a backbone. That means the octopus can squish into really tight spaces to hide. And then underneath their body, they're covered in suckers. And they use those suckers to grip onto the rocks when the waves are crashing. How many of you have been to the beach before? Maybe you haven't been, but you're excited to go. So if you've been to the beach before, how many of you have been knocked over by an ocean wave? Is the ocean strong? Yeah, so if you had suckers all over your body, you would be able to grip on tight, just like the octopus. So this is our local octopus species called the two-spot octopus. And it's called that because it has two fake eyeballs, this blue spot underneath its real eyes. So as the octopus gets bigger, that blue spot will get bigger. And then when the octopus is a full adult, if you're a predator looking down on the octopus, now it looks like a giant sea monster or a much larger animal than it looks like. And because they are invertebrates, they can fit into tight spaces to hide, especially important in the middle tide zone where there are lots of predators. They can pour their body into these unimaginable openings, slip into jars, slip under door jams. Such a great adaptation for hiding. And here's an up-close look at their suckers. Octopuses use their suckers to grip onto the rocks, like I mentioned. Also for movement, they also use their suckers to taste. Did you know that? So like we use our tongue to lick a lollipop, they can use their suckers to taste and smell a fish or a crab, and octopuses only eat meat. What do we call animals that only eat meat? Carnivores. So squids and octopus are carnivores. All octopuses and squids have a hard beak like a bird or a parrot, and they need that to crunch down on animals with hard shells like crabs and clams. They also eat fish. If anybody has a kitty cat at home, you might know your kitty cat has a spiky tongue. Well, our octopus has a spiky tongue too. It's really rad. It's called a radula. And the radula, they use that to scrape and break down their food inside of their beak. And all octopuses have a siphon. You're going to notice the straw-like structure coming out the side of their head. That's where they take in water over the gills to breathe. That's also where they release their ink. Oops, sorry. So when an octopus feels threatened or startled, it will release this ink into the water. That ink is made of a pigment or coloration called melanin. Melanin is the dark color if you have dark brown eyes or dark brown hair. When it's released in the water like this, it can momentarily blind a predator and take away its sense of smell. So this ink is a really important defense mechanism for the octopus, momentarily blinding predator. Okay, so we've talked about a number of the octopus adaptations, but we haven't talked about the octopus's most famous adaptation. What is an octopus really famous for doing with its skin that humans can't do? Take a moment to think about that. What can an octopus do with its skin that humans cannot do? They can change colors, right? What is that adaptation word for when plants and animals blend in with their surroundings? What do we call that? We call it camouflage. Camouflage is the adaptation word for when plants and animals blend in with their surroundings, and octopuses are the masters of camouflage. And how do they do it? Everyone wants to know, how does an octopus change colors? Well, we have to look at the body of our octopus. So octopuses keep all of their organs up here, most of their organs up in their head. How many hearts does an octopus have? Using your fingers, tell me, how many hearts do you think an octopus has? They have three hearts up here in their head, and they technically have 9 brains because their centralized brain starts here and then it slips down to each one of their 8 long arms. And 8 plus 1 is 9. So like 9 brains, 2/3 of their brain are in their arms. That means if they lose an arm, the arm will continue to grasp and try and find food. Whoa. Now, also all over their body, they have these little organs called chromatophores, and that is how an octopus changes colors. They use chromatophores. So chromatophores are like tiny little jelly-filled sacks of color. I'm using Nido balls to represent these chromatophores. And imagine they're all over the skin of the octopus, and the octopus has its brain in its skin. So its brain can tell these little chromatophores to squish and pull back, squish and pull back. What happens to this purple when I squish it? Is it still purple? No, they kind of change hues, right? Change colors. So the octopus uses its brain and its skin to tell these little chromatophores to pulse and pull back to match their surroundings. And that's how an octopus changes colors, using chromatophores. Now they can also make bumps and ridges on their skin to look like the seafloor or to mimic seaweed. They use different cells for that called papillae. All right, so here we have an octopus on the seafloor raising little bumps to look like pebbly seafloor. Here's an octopus that made horns on its head to look like seaweed, to blend in. Okay, now we're gonna play a quick game of Spot the Octopus. So I'm going to show you 3 underwater images, and in each image there's going to be an octopus hiding. I want you to try and find the octopus on the screen, not taking any answers for this, just as a class or in your home, try to find the octopus on the screen. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, spot the octopus. Give you a moment to just quietly look at the screen, see if you can find the octopus camouflaging. Right, it kind of looks like the octopus is right here, swirling its arms and that green algae using chromatophores to blend in. Little eye. Okay, next one. 1, 2, 3, spot the octopus. This one's doing a great job of blending in with the rocks. It's helpful if you find the eyeball. They have horizontal pupils like goats to let light in to their eyes. Here we have the octopus. It's kind of hard to tell where its body ends and the rocks begin, but I do notice some suckers down here. Great job, octopus. Okay, last one. 1, 2, 3, spot the octopus. So here is a safety tip. When you ever come to the beach, our lifeguards like to tell people you want to shuffle your feet in the sand. If you go swimming in the ocean, shuffle your feet so you let the animals know that you're there and then they'll swim away. Animals like stingrays don't want to hurt you unless you accidentally step on them. So we call it the stingray shuffle. And this is a good reminder of that in this photo. This octopus has submerged itself in the sand. It looks kind of like the mimic octopus from earlier in the program, also changing colors to blend in with the seafloor. Awesome. Now, octopuses can almost seem like alien creatures, right? They're so bizarre or otherworldly. But actually, there's lots of ways that octopuses are like you and me. Octopuses are like humans. Take a moment to think about, how could an octopus be like a human? What do we share in common? Give you a moment to think about that. Okay, so they all have a head, you might have noticed, with arms, and they use their arms to survive like we do. But what about the way they think? Do octopuses have brains? Yeah, they have brains like humans. Are they smart? Yes, they're intelligent. They're the most intelligent invertebrate on the planet. They're known for playing games, problem solving, like I mentioned. Are they curious like humans? They're curious like humans. Also, octopuses remember faces. They like some people and they don't like other people like humans. And octopus mothers are highly devoted mothers. So there's lots of ways that octopuses are like you and me. Here is an octopus playing with some Legos. When's the last time you played with some Legos? And what do you think this octopus is going to build with these Legos? Here's an octopus playing with a Mr. Potato Head. Remember, the octopus is using its suckers to smell and taste the toy. And octopuses are, they're smart in finding solutions in their environment. And so this is the coconut octopus. It lives where there are a bunch of coconut halves on the seafloor. So what does the octopus do? It uses those shells as its home. So they're creative in finding solutions in their environment, which is a sign of intelligence. And octopuses can pull up all their arms and run on two arms like humans running on 2 feet, 2 legs. All right. So for such a complex and interesting animal, they don't live very long. Octopuses have a very short lifespan. Using your fingers in your classroom or at home, how many years do you think an octopus can live to be? How many years can an octopus live? So most octopuses only live to be 1 or 2 years old. Some only live to be 6 months old. But the longest living octopus is that giant Pacific octopus. It will live to be 4 or 5 years old. So the longest living octopus is 5 years old. And do you think they are live born or they hatch from an egg? Do octopuses hatch from an egg or are they live born? Think about that. Do they hatch from an egg or are they live born? Okay, so octopuses hatch from an egg. And when they hatch, they cannot swim against a current. And anything that's drifting around in the ocean, plant or animal that cannot swim against a current, is called this. Have you guys ever met this guy before? Who's this? Plankton. So plankton is a character on SpongeBob, but plankton are real. Plankton are microscopic plants or animals drifting around in the ocean that cannot swim against a current. So our octopus hatches from an egg, and at this point, it's considered plankton because it drifts around in the ocean for a couple of weeks before it lands on the seafloor. So right now, our octopus hatched from an egg, drifting around as plankton. Then it lands on the seafloor and becomes a juvenile. One of our volunteers took this photograph of an octopus in the park and put a penny next to it. So you can see just how tiny this octopus is. But now it's a juvenile because it can swim against a current now. And we see it's next to the penny. All right, and then they grow up into adults. So they're juveniles, then they grow into an adult, and then it's time to mate so that the female can lay her eggs. So every boy octopus has a third special arm that he inserts inside of the female. He delivers some packets, and then she's going to find a dark sea cave, a dark den, a protected area to lay her eggs. And she dangles those eggs from the ceiling of the sea cave, and she's going to stop eating now. She stops hunting for herself. She only cares about these eggs. So she uses her siphon to blow water over the eggs to oxygenate them and to keep bacteria off of them. And she just waits for them. And in each little egg, there's a baby octopus getting ready to hatch. And then when it's time, those octopuses hatch back into the ocean as plankton, drifting around. And when the babies are born, then the mother is going to pass away. The mama octopus dies after her eggs hatch. So her whole purpose in life is to grow older so she can mate and have more octopuses in the ocean. So here is our octopus life cycle, starting out as an egg, drifting out as plankton, landing as a juvenile, and then growing into an adult, mating, and laying more eggs. Now, every animal in a habitat has a special job to keep that habitat healthy. Let's think about the octopus. Why should we even care about the octopus in a tide pool habitat? What is the octopus's job in a tide pool habitat? We think about it. Over here, what are they doing over here? What does the octopus like to eat? They like to eat meat, right? Crabs, clams, fish, they are a key predator in this tide pool habitat. And every habitat needs a healthy predator population, because what would happen if we took away the octopus? What would happen if we took the predators out of the habitat? What would happen? There might be an explosion of crabs, right? Too many of those prey animals. So having a healthy key predator population in your habitat means a healthy, balanced habitat. So how can we help protect the tide pools and octopuses and all the animals that live there if we ever go exploring in a tide pool habitat, in a marine protected area? Well, we have to remember that this is their home, this tide pool home, and it happens to be where humans like to play and bring their buckets and explore. So imagine if you were in your living room and a stranger opened the front door, walked right in, and started touching all your stuff. Wouldn't be really respectful or friendly, right? So we need to remember to be friendly giants when we enter into this habitat, because those organisms are a lot smaller than us. They're right underneath our feet. So rule number one, we always watch where we're stepping in the tide pools. We don't step in the water or put our hands in the water. We stay on the dry rock. Also, we're never going to collect shells or rocks. Shells are used by hermit crabs for homes. Bits of shells are used by sea anemones, and rocks can provide shade and shelter. So everything living and non-living has to stay in a habitat to keep it healthy. And we'd never want to collect animals because we don't have what they need at home to live, so then they wouldn't survive. So we're going to leave all the animals, all the shells and rocks there, and we don't pick up animals and put them in a bucket. That's very disorienting for them. They don't know where their food, their shelter, their space is. And lastly, you want to have fun. Because the more that you have fun exploring, engaging with nature, the more you're going to learn why we want to help protect these precious ocean habitats like the tide pools. And because it's World Ocean Week, why do you guys think it's important that we protect the ocean at large? So we want to protect our tide pool habitat with the octopus, but why should we protect the ocean? Why is the ocean important to you? Take a moment. There's no wrong answer here. It could be personal, it could be a big idea, but why do you think we should protect the ocean? Well, if you have a favorite ocean animal, maybe it's a killer whale or a squid, the only way to protect a species is to protect its habitat around it. So by protecting the ocean, we protect all the wildlife underneath the water from becoming endangered or extinct, right? So we want to protect the ocean for the animals, but why else should we protect the ocean? How much of the planet is covered in ocean? Do you guys know that one? How much of our planet is covered in ocean? So over 70% of our planet is covered in ocean. So the ocean helps regulate our climate. So no matter where you live, you're connected to the sea. Also, how many of you guys eat fish every once in a while? Sometimes. So we get food from the ocean, we get jobs from the ocean, we transport people and things on the ocean. I personally love swimming in the ocean and watching the sunset over the ocean. But this is important. Everybody take one big breath in and one big breath out. Did you know that more than 50% of the air that you breathe every day comes from the ocean? The air you breathe every day? How is that possible? So just as much as the trees and the forests protect our ocean, provide us oxygen, so does our ocean because of this guy. Remember plankton? So I mentioned that plankton are microscopic plant and animal species drifting around in the water. The animal plankton will grow up to be octopuses and sea stars, but the plant plankton is called phytoplankton. And phytoplankton are tiny little plants, okay? Imagine these little tiny microscopic plants floating on the surface of the ocean all around the earth. And the sun comes down, and through a process called photosynthesis, we get the oxygen we breathe. So when we take care of the ocean and our plankton, we take care of the lungs of our planet. And I love breathing fresh air. I hope you guys do too. And listen up. You guys are our future. You guys are the future scientists, the future educators, the future marine biologists who are going to find solutions to the problems that our Earth is facing today. So I'm really grateful that you guys took a little moment to come down here to learn a little bit more about this curious marine invertebrate in our tide pool habitat in this marine protected area. Now I'd like to share with you a couple of short video clips of the octopus, if that's okay with you guys. I'm going to share my screen. So I've worked here for almost 9 years now, and I've only seen an octopus in our tide pools maybe 5 times because it's so hard. They're so good at camouflaging. But this one day I had my cell phone camera with me. So I got this video of a 2-spot octopus in our tide pools at Crystal Cove State Park. Watch as it moves like liquid, raising some bumps on its head, using papillae, camouflaging to that red algae into the darkness. This video might get a little loud, it's underwater. Here is that tiny, tiny octopus next to a penny. Camera shy octopus. And then this video might get loud. We have a California State Parks scuba diving team, and the scuba divers captured this creature here. It's using its suckers to hold on tight. There's a surge in the water going back and forth. Definitely camouflaged. All right. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was our California State Parks Portscast, the mysteries of the octopus, and I'll leave you guys with an octopus joke. What do you call an octopus that plays the guitar? A rocktopus. All right, guys, happy World Ocean Week. Make sure to check out our Portscast calendar for upcoming ocean-themed Portscast this week, and look for your local community for World Ocean Day activities. World Ocean Day is this Saturday, June 8th. Have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.